All right, we're going to do a number of things today. Here's the strategy that I'm going to take for the rest of the semester. Some of you have correctly observed that there was no due date on that assignment. You already knew that. It took a while to convince me that that was the case, all right? But I did look, and sure enough, there's no due date on it. I will put some due dates up over the weekend. I'm also going to make available the last regular assignment to allow you to better manage your time, and we'll talk about that. And so probably, that will, the idea is that will allow you to manage your time better and decide what you need to do and so on. My aim is to get you up and running so that you can do these assignments, you can start on them. So today is going to be sort of a jump start into creating video. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to go today because you know that I like to give you opportunity to practice that. So we'll see how that goes. On Monday, I believe the person from the nonprofit is going to be here at 1 o'clock. And you will be invited, if you're doing that project, of course you'll want to be there to discuss with them their needs for the video. If you're not doing that project, you're invited to sit in on it. It's always good to get practice interacting with users and talking to them and trying to understand their needs. In addition, maybe if you're on the fence of whether to do it or not, maybe that will convince you one way or another. If you do not take that, then what I would do is practice video editing, and we'll talk a little bit about a couple ways that you can do that. All right. I am not going to go over the resources in Angel because you can do that just as well on your own. All right, there is a page for those, and take a look at them, review it. I'll go over a selected couple of them. First of all, let me talk about the project and the requirements. The requirements, of course, are to make a PSA, a public service announcement, or commercial that is, I believe, 55 seconds to a minute. The design part, you'll talk about who your audience is, what message you want to try to get across, and you'll do a storyboard. Now, what is a storyboard? A storyboard is I believe we looked at those when we first talked about animation. It's just really a rough sketch of critical points in the scene. It doesn't necessarily show everything in the scene. For example, if I were doing a storyboard for this lecture, the storyboard would look like this, maybe. The class starts with an empty whiteboard, and the video probably shows that for about 5 minutes until I realized that I was recording an empty whiteboard and thought I better stand up and get in the picture. All right. Then, I'm standing here talking for a certain period of time. Then I pull down the projector and I show a web page that has something on it, and so on down the line. Doesn't have to show every single detail of the action. It should show things such as change of scene, change of viewpoint, titles, that sort of thing. All right. But it doesn't need to show frame by frame. It's not like you're animating it. You're hitting sort of the key points, especially the key points where something changes in the video. And then you can say, maybe like this, you can put some captions underneath this to give a better idea. Class begins with an empty board. Instructor comes into view and discusses videos. Instructor shows sample video. So, how many frames does it have to be, your storyboard? I'll bet you can already answer that question. as many as it needs to be. As many it needs to be to tell the story, to communicate this. Imagine, for example, that the PSA that you're doing, you were doing it on my behalf. You were doing it for my organization, right? You would want to do enough so that you could convey to me in pretty straightforward terms exactly what the PSA is gonna be comprised of. You don't need to give a whole script. You don't need to show every single second of it in a drawing, but you need to sort of hit the high points so that I can look at it and I can get a sense of the general action that's going on in the video. All right? So that's the design part. You write up who the audience is, what message you're trying to convey, and do a storyboard. The final product, I have a sample of one. I actually borrowed this assignment from a teacher I had, and where we had to create a similar 1-minute PSA. And let me show you the one that I did. I did it as part of a couple-person team. So let's go and take a look at it. And this is available on Angel if you want to watch it again and again.
Actually, you can't get to it because I tried to.
Really?
Yeah.
Not sure what you did. You might have answered the question wrong. If it asks if you want to see secure and non-secure things, but
I'll
you
try that. Maybe I'll try that.
yeah, you should be able to do it. Or maybe there really is a problem. I hesitate to talk after I promised you that.
Yeah, that's. Oh no, that's not what it does. It's something else.
All right. Well, I'll try to straighten this out, and I'll post an announcement for that. Suffice it to say that it was brilliant. I did a great job acting and directing, and I expect you to live up to my very high standards in that. Yeah, I'll see what's wrong with it. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. At any rate, okay. So now about creating videos. I want to kind of jump in. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than other stuff. We might go back and talk about some of the design issues. Like, well, we can address them now at least quickly. When would you use video versus animation, audio, still pictures? What does video offer that those other ones don't?
More personal.
Yeah. Right. A video is probably as close to real as being there as you could possibly get in a computer experience, at least with the current technology. Yes?
Doesn't it touch most of the senses?
Yeah, it touches more senses. You're seeing, you're hearing, and you're engaged. So it does all those things at once. It's also, again, very real. All right? Now, we talked a little bit about, if you remember, I showed a horse animation. Did you have your hand up, by the way? Okay. We talked a little bit when we showed animation. I had an animation of a horse running. All right? And the nice thing about that is it could be not realistic. We could see what the muscles are doing. We could see what the skeleton's doing. All right? Because if you were studying that to be a veterinarian, you'd want to know that stuff. But if you were a kid that wanted to see a horse running, you wouldn't want to see that. You'd want to see an actual horse running. All right? It'd be kind of gruesome to show a skeleton and muscles and all that going on if you wanted to show that. So again, it's all a matter of what you want to show, and video will be kind of the most realistic thing. As potential for a strong emotional appeal, because you're actually seeing the person, alive, It's amazing. I've seen, think of I don't know if any of you have ever read like books written by comedians. All right? Think of your favorite comedian and imagine if instead of hearing them tell the joke, you read the joke. It just doesn't have that impact. All right? It doesn't have that impact because so much about humor is the delivery of it, right? And the tone of voice and the facial expressions and all that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of times where I've heard something spoken and then I've read text and the text just seems flat, all right, by comparison. So, those are the advantages of video. What is the downside of video?
It's costly.
Yeah, it's costly. All right. You should have good equipment. It is costly in terms of storage space it requires. It is costly in time to have top professional level software to do it. It's time consuming. Everything is more expensive and elaborate when you do video. Therefore, you better be really sure that you plan it well. That's the one implication of that. Think it through, because you don't want to go and do that again. What are some other downsides of video? Yes?
Well, I was thinking in terms of you got to get it right, because you could be sending the wrong message. There's a lot at stake, more so than if you were to do written word or if you were to do just
Maybe. That's a good point. There's more at stake. You better get it right. Again, that almost goes along with the notion of it being more expensive, because if it takes a lot of effort to do that, if you put a video up on the web and you realize after the fact that someone misspoke and said something slightly wrong, that's a pain to go back and correct. If it's just text, it's probably just, you just delete that sentence, put another one in, So yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, that also points to the fact that planning becomes more important. So plan so you're sure what you're doing and you're putting it out there. Other downsides, yes.
Well, as far as imagination, it kind of limits you because you get in one person's viewpoint.
Very good.
The words.
Right.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw The Hunger Games over the weekend, right? Which is I'm sure a movie that has that comes from a set of books and all that. And it generally seems to be getting good reviews, but I guarantee that there's people saying, it's a good movie, but it's not as good as the book. Why? Because you have in your mind what these characters look like and how they act and all that. And if it's different, and you can say the same thing about any book that goes to a movie, you almost never hear people say, "Oh, the book was good, but the movie was so much better," right? Because again, I think you hit the nail on the head. That forces a particular viewpoint. So I guess it depends on the message you're trying to do. If you want it to be more of I hesitate to say the word poetic experience, but more of an experience where the viewer puts some of themselves into it to sort of complete it, then video might not be the right choice, because the video is very literal and it shows you exactly that viewpoint. Whereas if you want something a little more open-ended, then there you go.
Yeah.
Other downsides, yes?
I think you can be biased with video. You know what I'm saying? It's
Well,
really hard to be objective because then you're just kind of seeing it through the person who made the videos. I don't know if it's true to watch something.
I will say that. But I'm not sure you can be any. You could necessarily be more biased with video than you could with anything else. You can be biased with text. You can be,
That's true too. You're
So
right.
you can slant almost anything. I guess, if anything, you would say maybe the stakes are higher again because it's a very powerful tool.
You
I
can
think.
make a bigger deal than what it is.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
maybe.
saying? That kind of thing.
Maybe. Other disadvantages. I think we're missing one of the big ones. We'll try that again. We're missing one of the big ones. One of the large ones.
Big files.
One of the ones that would be in megabytes, right, is big files, right?
Oh, okay.
And therefore it's going to take longer to download, all right, than it would an image. Now again, it is the bang for the buck. If it's the best way to tell the story and it's the best way to make the impact, then it's worth it. But you don't just put a video up there just to have a video, because it takes longer to download, more space to store it, so on and so forth. All right? Pay attention to the quality for it. Now, the other thing that I would say, that is a drawback that I would state, and I may have mentioned this, or I'm not sure, is the fact that it's harder to scan a video than it is to scan through text. All right? The complaint I made is with a lot of CNN reports where there's only a video on their website. Well, I don't necessarily want to sit through a 5-minute report. You know, if I could scan a transcript of it real quick and make up my mind, yes, it's worth watching, no, it's not worth watching, or I could look and get a summary of it in text, then I could decide if it's worth the 5 minutes to watch it or not. All right? Text is real easy to scan, right? You know, especially journalistic text and text that's effectively written for the web. You know, you can read the first paragraph and maybe look at the first topic sentence of each paragraph after and get a pretty good idea what's going on. All right, or at least you should. All right, so let's assume that we've decided video is the way we want to go. The methods of obtaining videos are virtually the same as the methods of obtaining anything else. There's stock footage, Creative Commons, you can make it yourself, you can hire someone, pretty much the same as with images. Now, let's talk about recording video and equipment. You really need to do a good job. You need state-of-the-art equipment. All right? You need a top-of-the-line video camera, which this obviously isn't. Those of you that remember, we actually had some slightly better cameras, but they disappeared during the fire that we had a few years back, if you remember. We had a fire here, and there were a lot of folks involved in the cleanup effort, and some of them apparently decided to clean up a couple of cameras that weren't damaged. All right? So we do have one. There's another one floating around somewhere. And this by no means is a good camera at all for recording video. It is serviceable. If you have your own equipment, by all means use it. I had another one in there and I tried to get it working, but I wasn't able to. The bottom line is, again, you're probably better off using your own. This will actually give you video but no audio. Well, what do you do then? Well, maybe you don't need audio, or maybe you record it with Audacity and do it. Very often, you know, for example, if you see a movie, you know, they're recording the audio separately. So we're trying to make you a film director here and giving you practice with that. All right. So yeah, you'd want as good equipment as you can get. One thing I would say is a tripod is valuable. All right? Unless you want to do Cloverdale, which everyone, is that the name of it? Cloverdale? Cloverfield? Yeah. Which everyone remembers as being a great movie. Unless you're going for those kind of effects of the jittery camera like you're there, you want a tripod, all right, to hold it steady. Few things to remember. And this goes back to the days when, you know, when I got the first VHS camera, all right? Any little movement you make is going to be a big movement when you record it. So like the first time that, you know, I got the video camera, you know, you're shooting Christmas morning, let's say, you're like, look around, taking this kid, taking that kid, taking myself, you know, and all that. And when you see it, it's disorienting and nauseating, right? Because the camera is jerking so much, and you actually get, you know, a little bit of vertigo, seasickness, whatever you want to call it. Really, actually you can get disoriented, and this is true for movies, and this is true for animations. You know, I'm talking about longer movies, longer animations. If your senses get a disconnect, in other words, if the camera is jerking around, but your body isn't, your brain sort of wonders what's going on. And that can lead to dizziness and all that kind of thing. From personal experience, that's a feeling I get whenever I play first-person shooter games, right? Because the camera moves funny in those games, like a Halo or whatever, and I find it really disorienting. And again, it's possible to do that. So don't add to that, all right? And put your camera on a tripod. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to record just a very quick snippet, and I'm going to import it, and then we're going to have fun playing editing it. Now, what was I going to say? If you have a Mac, you already have iMovie built in. Feel free to use that. Again, the purpose of this is just so that you have some familiarity with this. I'm not, certainly wouldn't want to require someone to go out and buy some extensive, like Final Cut or Final Cut Pro or one of those kind of applications. But if you have Windows, you can download and install Windows Movie Maker for free. Again, is it great? No, but it's serviceable. Have faith that you can do it. If 20 million teenagers can put 5,000 videos on YouTube a day, then you can do this too. All right. I'm going to just record a couple seconds of myself sitting there talking, and then we'll import it into Windows Movie Maker. Here is where I would dub in me saying something intelligent. Or probably what I would do is I would go get Nora and have him say something intelligent and dub it over, as opposed to risking it myself. Okay. So importing the video is real similar to importing it from importing a digital image from a camera. And I hope this works. I just thought of a potential issue. If the potential issue arises, we'll shift very quickly to plan B. That's kind of like, in my mind, the first rule they should teach you if you're teaching technology. Always have a plan B, right? Because you never know when a piece of software isn't installed or this, that, or the other. All right, so let's go in, and we can go and we can import pictures and videos. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Cancel. Yes. I'm going to go in, and when I plug in the camera into the USB drive, it shows up like it's a thumb drive or a removable drive, just like it does with your camera if you've ever connected a digital camera. And if you go in here, you will notice in this folder, there's a little QuickTime movie, and that's my movie. So I'll bring that over onto my desktop, and away we go. Notice that that's 7 megabytes. All right, even though it was 20-some seconds at not particularly high quality. All right, now we can go and view it.
Do you have QuickTime installed?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to look at. Open in QuickTime. There we go.
There we go.
Some files, yes. That's what got me in trouble the first time. All right, there we go. Here I am. Here I'm saying something intelligent. All right. So let's work with Windows Movie Maker. All right. So I installed it earlier today, so it should be here. I believe it's installed in the lab. I'm going to go here and install Windows Movie Maker. And if I'm lucky today, I'll be able to import this. So I'll click Add Videos and Photos. I will go onto the desktop, and I will open that, and I'll keep my fingers crossed. Yeah, it did. Whew. All right. I'm a happy boy. All right. So it's there then, and I can go and I can watch it. And there we go. Then I can also edit it. Now this, unfortunately, only I would think records 30 seconds at a time. So if you use this to make a minute video, you're going to have at least 2 passes, which actually makes me happy, right? Because then you're going to have to edit them together, all right, and do that. All right, what are some of the things that you can do here? All right, all these multimedia things, and again, I hope you see a common theme. That's one reason that I try not to make this class software driven. In other words, we talk about specific tools, but it's not like this is a Final Cut Pro class, or this is a Windows Movie Maker, or a Photoshop. Because a lot of the concepts go across the board, and next year there's going to be something else, right? But it's the basic concepts that apply. What can I do? Well, one thing I can do is I can go and I can split this video. There's an awful long time for me walking over here. So let's get rid of that. All right. So I'll go here and I can go under Edit and I can say I want to split that clip. All right. And that's almost the same thing I did with audio, if you remember. With audio, if you had an audio track, you could split it and then delete part of it. So I can split that video and then I can go and delete that. So now when I play the video, there's not that little bit of dead air at the beginning. All right? And that's a good thing. All right? What else could we do? We could go and we could import photos. We could import other video. We could import audio. For example, let's go and click on this, and I will click under Edit, Add Music. So I could go in and add, I have no idea what this is. I'll pick that one. And okay, first time, got the right music. And you can certainly do that with a spoken word track too. So if you're doing a voiceover for it, if you're showing someone riding a bicycle falling down and you want to do a voiceover of, please wear your helmet, then you certainly could video record that even without sound and then do the voiceover later. All right? What else can we do?
Where do you do the voiceover?
Well, you do the voiceover like in any audio editing. So like in Audacity, you could record the voice, and then you could just bring that clip into
Movie Maker?
yeah, just what I did there, where I said add music.
Oh, okay.
All right? Add music is going to look for MP3 files, It's not going to look and say, oh, that's a spoken word MP3 file, I'm not going to allow you. So you can go and bring that in. The other thing you can do is you can put some transitions in here. Let's go just for laughs and add maybe a photo or two to the end of this. So let's go into pictures. I would normally add another video clip, but just in the interest of time, I'll go in and add an image, add, another image. And you can arrange these around. It's like a timeline. All right? And then you can add transitions to it. So maybe I don't want the penguins just to pop in. Maybe I want them to fade in like this. So I can go, and with that selected, I can click on that transition. With this one selected, I can maybe use a different transition. And so on. Let me turn down the volume just a bit. Don't want Huffman over here throwing markers at me. All right.
Where did you go?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, what happened to you? Oh, you deleted everything but the...
Maybe I did the wrong. Maybe I did the opposite one. Oh well.
You made it longer somehow.
Yeah, that's weird. Well, I'll ask for my money back from Microsoft. All right. At any rate, that's the idea. There's other things you can do. You could play around with this. For example, you could make the penguins black and white or posturized, or whatever. You could certainly insert a title image.